So over here is where my husband does the composting at our house. Now, we don't just have one bin. We don't just have 2 bins. We don't just have 3 bins. Or 4 bins. Or 5 bins. Or 6. Or 7. We actually have 8 enormous compost bins. Some may say that's a little excessive, but let's just say we actually use them all. And because I never know which one to use, my husband puts a brick on top of the ones I'm not allowed to open. And then I know when I bring the compost down that I can put it into these bins at the moment, except that it looks like it's overflowing with weeds at the moment. Now, composting is actually a pretty interesting thing, because if you look inside some of these, you'll see that they're all at different stages of our food and scraps and green waste breaking down. So I'm going to take some pictures now and show you what some of the different bins look like inside. Welcome to Who Said That? Animal Sounds. You have 10 seconds to guess what animal this is after you've heard the call. So I'm going to play it for you, have a little listen, and then see what you reckon. There's the animal. Can I just say, I think this one sounds like a squeaky toy. You've got 10 seconds. Have a guess.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Well, hello again, kids. It's nice to see you today. Today we're going to go into the garden and collect up some different types of soil from our garden. Now, it's not very often that people stop and think about dirt and what things are in the dirt, but that's what we're going to do today. We're going to find out what makes up dirt and why are some soils different to other types of soils. Because you might notice that if you go digging in your garden that you can see different layers, and there might be brown soil on the top, and if you dig down further there might be a different colour. Or if you go near the beach you might find that there's soils made up of sand or something like that. So today we're going to go digging in the garden, you're going to get some different soil types, and then we're going to do a really easy experiment to have a look at what makes up soil. And you're going to be drawing about that in your science journal sometime this week. So today you need to go into the garden with 3 jars or glasses or something. And I want you to try and collect 3 different soil samples. Now at the moment I'm in my vegetable garden and having a bit of a dig, and I'm just getting a scoop of really nice dark brown soil and putting it into my first jar. For the second jar, I went to my herb garden where you can see on the ground there's been some mulch there on the surface for a while. So I decided to scoop up some of this and put it into my second jar so that you can see the difference between what's in the vegetable garden and what I have up here in the herb garden. Now for my third soil, which I wanted to be different, I went under my house to where all our building supplies are, and I found some dirt there that was a bit more grey and it looked almost a bit sandy, so I gathered up some of that as well. So now I have my 3 different soil samples, and I want you to do the same thing, and then you're ready to take them inside. Once you've got your samples, you can label them so you know which one's which. Then you're going to get yourself some water and pour it into each of the 3 jars. Stir it with a stick so that all of the dirt gets mixed in, And then you're going to leave these to sit overnight and look at them the next day. Hello, it's the next day now, and what I did was I left my soil samples all mixed up in the water overnight. So you can see the 3 of them here, from the veggie garden, from the herb garden, and from under the house. Now if I turn them around, you're going to see different layers inside the water. So here we go. Just turn them around. Okay, so when you see my 3 jars here in a row, you can probably see some differences between them, like I can. The first one has a whole bunch of dirt down the bottom. And dirt is just broken down things like plants and compost and dead insects and that kind of stuff. So that's the dirt. And the bottom layer, and this happens in all of them, the bottom layer has the biggest particles. They're a bit bigger than the others. And then the smaller particles sort of settle on top of that. So when you look at the top of each of these layers, you'll see a fine dirt because they're smaller bits. And you can see it change as it goes up. Then you can see at the very top of each, I have things floating around. They're the things that don't sink at all. So they might be parts of plants, they might be pieces of wood, all that kind of thing. And this one's got lots of that because you might remember I got this from the mulch in my herb garden. So there's bits of leaves and bits of sticks and things left over that don't really sink. So there's a lot of that in there. And even the one from under the house, I don't know what's going on in there, but there's things floating and I can't tell what they are. They look a little bit like pieces of dirt, but I'm wondering if they're actually little bits of plant roots and things that have some dust stuck to them or something, so that they're not really sinking down the bottom. I can't tell you actually everything about dirt because I don't know that much about dirt. I'm not really an expert in it, but I do know that I can draw pictures of these in my book and write notes about what I observed, and that the 3 soils that I have here are made up of 3 different groups of things. So let's go and do that in our journal now. So as always, you begin with a title at the top and the date, and then I'm drawing the jar here first. Then I've started drawing the layers in there with the larger rocks on the bottom and then the smaller ones on top, and those things that are kind of floating on top of the mud. And then on the top, I've got little floaty things at the top with bubbles and some brown water in the middle, which I've just coloured in a little bit there. And then I just wrote underneath the house on that. Last week on Science in LegoLand. "430 Whitehorse students radioed in to help Danielle and Sunny solve the mystery of the skull. These were some of the responses. Just as Danielle and Sunny were discussing which of the 430 students might be onto something, a giant creature scurried past. Both minifigures screamed, "Ah!" Following behind the creature came a very old man.
"Sorry about that. That was just my pet rat. Ah, I see you found my old dead rat's skull. I keep it here as a reminder that all vertebrates have skulls."
Right, and that's not creepy at all. And with that, the mystery was solved. Did you guess the creature correctly?